Coming up next on All About Android, it's me, Jason Howell, my co-host Wintwit Dow, and Ron Richards, and our guest, Andrew Watson, who's the senior Android developer at Solana Labs. He joins us to talk all about the Solana Saga smartphones. We talk a little bit about blockchain, how that integrates with the smartphone, what that even means. Plus, he joins us for the rest of the show. We talk about Android 13, which, surprise, it's out. Yes, an early release of Android 13. I review the Pixel Buds Pro, give you my thoughts on that. J.R. Raphael shares a magic eraser tip that's for everyone, not just Pixel owners. Plus, you all had a ton to say about our RCS interview from last week's episode. That's in our feedback section, and a whole lot more coming up next on All About Android.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is All About Android, episode 591, recorded Tuesday, August 16th, 2022. Developing for the Solana Saga. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by SecureWorks. Are you ready for inevitable cyber threats? SecureWorks detects ever-changing threats and defends against them with a combination of security analytics and human intelligence. Visit secureworks.com/twit to get a free trial of Taegis XDR. And by Wealthfront. Get a bonus $50 when you start investing with Wealthfront. So sign up today. Just visit wealthfront.com/twit. And by New Relic. Use the data platform made for the curious. Right now, you can get access to the whole New Relic platform and 100 gigs of data per month free forever. No credit card required. Sign up at newrelic.com/AAA. Hello, welcome to All About Android, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I am Ron Richards.
And I'm Wintwit Dow.
Welcome back, Win. Good to see you again.
Hi, I'm back.
I didn't mean for that to rhyme. It totally rhymed, and I didn't try to make that rhyme. But it's good to see you, rhyme or not.
It's good to see you, too. I missed a big show last week, but I'm back. And, I was busy starting a new job. So, that's my excuse. Not a good one, but that's my excuse.
No, you know what? You don't need an excuse, first of all. We all have lives, and we all have reasons. And but that's a pretty darn good reason. So congratulations once again on your new job.
Thank you.
At Adobe. That's awesome stuff. But I will say, you did miss a really great episode. Our interview with Jan. Jan was really great.
It was. I don't want to brag, but it might have been one of our but here's the thing. Like whenever we had, when you were missed, because I think you would have. Bashal did a great job. But whenever we get the opportunity to have somebody from the mothership on the show, it ends up being such a great conversation, and seeing all the feedback on social and in the comments and in the chat while we were doing it, stuff like that. We could have very easily just kind of like shined the shoes a lot and talked about the campaign, but like Jay said, I feel like we had a real opportunity to talk about someone on the inside about messaging at Google and ask the questions that we've been dying to know, right? And so
Absolutely,
I'm really proud of it. Yeah,
and I think the proof's in the pudding, because we got tons of feedback this week, of which we only could pick 3, and they were really long. You'll see later, and they all, like most of the feedback had to do with RCS, had to do with the interview, the positive, the negative, and everything. So we'll get to that later. So there will be some RCS fun in this episode. But before that, we need to welcome in our guest, who's just been sitting patiently like, okay, yeah, great. You talked to Jan from Google. What about me? And who is me? It's Andrew Watson. Not me, of course. It's him. Andrew Watson, senior Android developer for Solana Labs. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Give us a quick little kind of background about your involvement with Android. I mean, you're senior Android developer for Solana Labs. Like, where did this part of your career begin?
Yeah, so I've been doing Android development for like 10 plus years now. So I think I got started way back in the Android 2.3 days. And I've been doing Android development ever since for all sorts of different kinds of projects and companies and teams. And, I've seen Android grow, evolve, it's incredible, like, to see where it is now versus where it was when we started. There's so much pain in Android development. And
so much discomfort.
I'm sure Win can commiserate. Yeah, but it's really awesome now, and so it's a lot of fun. I love it.
Yeah, it's kind of grown into its own over the years, thankfully. But you know what? There was a certain character when it was, the scrappy kind of like.
It sure was.
I don't want to say the also ran, but at least here in the U.S., Android was always kind of in the shadow, and some might actually argue still in the shadow of Apple's ecosystem. And there was some. I know that some of us, long-term Android fans, and I'm sure on the developer side as well, kind of wear that as a badge of honor. Kind of like, what? Yeah, sure, Android's not that, but that's why I like it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I always it was always fun to try and be building an iOS and Android app side by side and, show people what Android could do. That was what I loved to do because it was hey, this can do lots of cool things or things you can't do on iOS. And so that was, I definitely like having to kind of, show what it could do and even show up iOS a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Right. Like, this is what we could do that you can.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Andrew, it's great to get you on. You're going to be here for the whole episode, but we want to start off, as we usually do when we have someone interesting to talk to kind of in a more of an interview sense. We'd like to start off tonight talking about Solana Saga because this is the smartphone that we introduced and talked about a little bit on the show. I want to say about like a month and a half ago, somewhere around then, there was the announcement that the Solana Saga phone was coming out, partnership with Awesome, right? Am I saying that right? Is it Awesome?
Yeah, Awesome. Yep.
Even though it's OSEM.
OSOM.
Oh, OSOM. There we go.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, maybe you need to add in a little of that Bill and Ted's twang to it, but. But we talked about this phone on the show, and I think soon after we heard from you saying, hey, I actually work on that team. I'd be happy to come on and talk a little bit about that. And then, of course, you'll be joining us for the rest of the show as well to share your thoughts on what actually happened to be a pretty big news week.
Oh, yeah.
But let's start off talking a little bit about your project, what you're really spending your time on right now. That is the Solana Saga phone. Give us a little bit of like an elevator pitch, because we tried to do our best of explaining exactly what it was. Probably had a little cynicism if you watched that episode about it, which I think is kind of common when we're talking about Web3 and blockchain and that whole thing. So what the heck is the Solana Saga smartphone? Why should Android users want one?
Right. Yes. So the pitch is, I have one right here. This is the Saga. I have my.
There it is.
I got to cover up the security.
Oh yeah, good idea.
It's a really nice looking phone. The pitch is that the Saga is an opinionated way. It's kind of a line in the sand to bring mobile to crypto or crypto to mobile, and to do it in the most secure way that mobile platforms allow. So if you've ever done anything in crypto, you have to deal with things like seed phrases and things like this. And you hear about things like cold storage and ways of protecting your funds and that sort of thing. And the Saga sort of brings all that together and then, of course, makes it accessible on mobile, which crypto has not done a good job of being mobile friendly at all. Mobile is terrible for crypto right now. So, to answer the question of why would Android users care? This phone isn't for everyone, and we're not trying to make it for everyone right now. But if you're into crypto and particularly Solana, it's definitely targeted for you. And I can get into what it has that makes it do that or why you would care, but that's sort of the pitch. I don't know if that.
Okay. Yeah, that helps. That certainly helps. I know that, blockchain is that kind of term that gets thrown around a lot. And that is in many ways integral to this device. Talk a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people, I think with a lot of this Web3 stuff, and I know, I consider myself, part of this crowd too. I understand bits and pieces, but then new things happen and I'm like, okay, I don't understand how these things interplay together, and blockchain can be kind of confusing for a lot of people. So how exactly does the blockchain benefit the smartphone, and how does that interplay and how does that work?
Yeah, our CEO Anatoly talks a lot more about self-custody than he does sort of blockchain or certain other things. And I think that's a really good distinction because, one of the key tenets of Web3, of blockchain tech, is that you custody your own assets. So, you have a Bitcoin balance, you have a Solana balance, you have an Ethereum balance or whatever. You're in control of that and no one can take it from you. You have the seed phrase, you have the private key, and nobody can take it from you. And that's attractive for a lot of reasons. It's also kind of scary and there's things to think about with that. But just, that's kind of the big thing. And it's like, well, once you, sort of have self-custody and now you're dealing in a self-custody, but these funds are also transferable and they can move around and you can do things with them really easily. New technologies become unlocked. Like, the table stakes is just like sending funds to people or, like sending money or even doing like payments. Like a big thing Solana's trying to work on is Solana Pay, where, it's kind of like tap to pay at places and stuff like that. Solana makes that super, super easy. But, lots of new things open up with like decentralized finance. When money moves at the speed of the internet, you can do lots of really interesting things with it. And so, what the Saga phone does and what the SMS stack does is it just makes all of that really, really safe and secure on mobile. So now you have another way of doing it. And the thing is, if crypto is going to go mainstream, it has to go mobile. Like there's just no question.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so, what does the, so the phone itself is not like a blockchain node or anything like that, right? Okay. Like the phone is just accessing blockchain services. And so some of these things that blockchains do particularly well, or Web3 tech does especially well, now become accessible on the phone.
Got it.
So I guess and part of the snark probably when we talked about it initially when the phone came out is that, there's a lot of people who don't necessarily understand what's going on with Web3, which, by the way, I read a great article in Wired from the May issue that was the writer went to the ETH Denver conference and wrote about Ethereum and Web3 and all that sort of stuff. I really recommend it. It's called Paradise at the Crypto Arcade Inside the Web3 Revolution. It's online. You can find it. But admittedly, it's different than the Web 2.0 revolution, and that Web3 is a lot of hard to grasp concepts in terms of approaching technology and the way things process. Then on the other hand, you have what's been going on with crypto and blockchain and the boom, and then the I think we all here in America we love a rise and then a fall story. So like everybody's dying for the crash of crypto and like all this sort of stuff. And there's a lot of skeptics out there, which I believe are based in not having a lot of knowledge about it, but then also being dismissive of it because of the type of sensationalist headlines and articles and stuff like that are out there. But for those of us who have a misunderstanding of Web3 or skeptical about blockchain and crypto, what is the answer to that? I mean, I think, you said it yourself, like this phone isn't for everyone, but in order to be a viable business, it's got to be for someone, right? So is there enough of an addressable market to justify that? Or are you guys trying to convert some of us who may not understand it all, but then once you unlock it, see the benefit of it?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So many good things there. Yes. We want to bring people over, right? Like we want to convert people. We want people to see the benefits of blockchain. I personally think that there are a lot of benefits and a lot of cool things that blockchain tech can bring. I wouldn't be working here. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think that was the case. But so many of the criticisms are valid, right? There's so many good criticisms and there's so many things that, are just very, very bad. There's so many scams. There's so many, just bad actors. The volatility is there. Again, my thing is like what blockchains allow is they allow the transfer of value at the speed of the internet. And so, that comes with benefits and lots of responsibility because like the fact is that when people are transacting in money, there's going to be bad actors that want to take that money. That's just the way it goes. There are people who want to take money from your bank account, right? And they'll try and fish their way in or whatever. But the biggest, if I could, can I try like a thought experiment on you guys? Because like Sure. This is something I've been thinking about, and I want to see if it helps tell the Web3 story. Okay, cool. So if this is the worst example ever, tell me. But here's I thought of this and I want to try it out. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's say you're in line at Starbucks. and you're waiting for your coffee. You put in your order or you're in line, right? You're in line and you're about to order, and there are a few people ahead of you. While you're waiting, you go on Twitter and you post a tweet, right? And maybe you like a couple of let's just say you post a tweet, and then you go to Gmail, you send an email, and then finally you go up to the counter, you order your coffee, and you pay for it. The question to answer is how many value transactions just occurred?
How many value transactions? Define.
How many value transactions? How many value transactions did you just take part in?
Okay, can I ask one probably stupid question?
What's a value transaction?
Define a value transaction for me.
Well, think in terms of like anything of value.
Yeah.
Anything that you just did of value. How many things of value and like sort of interactions with value did you partake in?
Well, I mean, I suppose, I mean, first of all, that probably depends on how the individual person defines value.
Right.
I would look at that and I would think that those all have some sort of value, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. The simple answer is one, right? Like you went and paid for something. That's a value.
Yeah. If value is defined by monetary something, then absolutely.
Yeah, but no, you're right. The answer is 3, right? Mm-hmm. Tweeting has value. Gmail, sending an email has value.
Right.
Paying for something has value.
Yeah.
And
I was going to guess 3, by the way. Just
good. All right. I didn't give you a chance.
All right, we'll give you credit.
No, I was going to say 3. So yeah,
you get a B+, Ron, because you're a little late on your assignment, but okay.
But yeah, the deal is that like everything we do online has value, right? Like Twitter wouldn't exist. If it didn't have value. Gmail, even though it's free, they derive value from you interacting with Gmail, right? And the vision of Web3 is that that value and the incentives for value are better aligned and can be distributed more evenly amongst people and actors in the system. Like that's the vision. I'm kind of a sucker for a big vision, like with blockchains enabling value transfer quickly and easily and being able to program it, make it programmatic, you can align incentives in ways that you couldn't before. You can transact value in ways that you couldn't before. And so, you think about like, there's lots of talk about social networks where you own your following. Right. Like there's one protocol called Lens protocol where that's the case, where like, there's a protocol, your friends are sort of yours or your followers are yours. And then there can be multiple front ends on top of that protocol. So the social network becomes the protocol and you kind of transact on this protocol. And then, people can figure out ways to monetize by building, user interfaces or additional features or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's the vision. The vision is decentralized, like decentralizing lots of different aspects of, it's again, it's easy to forget, but our lives are so controlled by Google and Apple, and these are all centralized things. If you can distribute value and help, help everyone have reasons for interacting with the system and transacting and stuff like that, these big tech companies maybe won't be so evil or can't, or they're just things are
it takes
better.
It takes the power away from big tech and puts it in the hands of the users, right?
Ostensibly, yeah. Ideally.
Yeah. Ideally,
yeah.
Let's focus a little bit for this kind of last part of the interview. Let's focus on kind of the Android aspects of this, because this is an Android device. You're the senior Android developer on the team. What's different about the development experience with a phone of this type when you compare that to kind of traditional devices out there? How and kind of where my mind is at is this mixture of kind of these the traditional hardware elements that we're used to having, right? As well, this phone is highly specialized. Like in a certain way, this phone is a one of a kind. I guess HTC had a blockchain phone, but I don't, but you know what I mean? Like most smartphones out there are like other smartphones, but this is very different. So how does that impact the developer experience? Yeah.
So what I didn't really get into is the seed vault, right? So the big value add of the Saga is this secure seed storage. So every smartphone has a secure enclave, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you set up your phone, you're going to get your seed phrase, and that's going to be stored securely in the trust zone. Totally secure, can't be cracked, can't be pulled out, won't ever be exposed to wallets. And so, there does need to be APIs for dealing with that. And so what we're doing is we're releasing the part of the Seed Vault has to be done per chipset, and so we can't open source that. But the Seed Vault SDK, the portion that sort of communicates with the secure enclave, that is actually a spec that we're releasing, and we are putting out there. So ostensibly other manufacturers could have their own, secure storage, that sort of thing, and then adhere to this Seed Vault SDK, and then other wallets could be built on top of it, for example, or other applications could be built on top of it. So the fact is right now it is proprietary. There is one, but I have it on good authority from the CEO ourselves. He would be perfectly happy if like Samsung or HTC took our idea and actually brought it to mass market.
I'm sure, yeah,
that'd be great. that's ideally.
Just saying, Sam, Mr. or Mrs. Samsung, if you're listening, yeah, there you go.
There it is.
But thankfully, for the most part, for the apps that like I would make, like in terms of like if I was making a Web3 dApp, I wouldn't really be working with the Seed Vault because I'd be talking with a wallet. And actually, the mobile wallet adapter is sort of like the key piece of technology that connects mobile apps, mobile dApps to blockchain stuff. And the good news is that actually doesn't depend on the Seed Vault. The Seed Vault just makes it much, much more secure. So really, like the difference in developing like consumer-facing dApps is not terribly different than developing other apps. Like I built a little Kotlin sample and I was using Jetpack Compose and all sorts of good stuff. And then the only thing is like with blockchain technology, you don't use like REST. I don't know how technical we get on this. You get on this.
Yeah, go for it.
Thing, but like it's very common to have like REST services or stuff like that. But blockchains use RPC, which is like a kind of a real-time update kind of, but it's basically like a REST endpoint. Like you get data from it and then you can update the status of your application and stuff like that. But it's different, right? Like, and then you're constructing these transactions to do these blockchain operations, and you have to sign them, but that gets done by the wallet. So there's just kind of like a new flow, I would say. But like as far as building consumer-facing apps, there's not a huge amount of difference, and you can and should develop apps for the Solana mobile stack, which is like the software portion, doesn't connect to the Seed Vault, and deploy them, release them on Google Play. Like you don't need the Saga to do this.
So I guess the question is, where does Android end and all this begin, and vice versa, right?
This is a regular Android phone. Like it has the Play Store, it has, all the Google apps, it's Google certified. Yeah. You could never use any of the crypto focused stuff, and it would be a great phone because it's Samsung 8. It's like really nice. It's top end specs. Cool. So it's literally just added on. It's more stuff. So this phone allows you to do blockchain transactions and interactions on the go. And so it's just like consuming another software stack. I think that's the easiest. It's like consuming an SDK. That's literally it. So where does Android end? It doesn't. It is an Android phone, and it just so happens to have some secure enclave APIs that make certain transaction signing that you'd want to do very, very secure. But you could even not set up the secure vault stuff and still do all your blockchain stuff, right? Because you can do blockchain stuff on your phone right now. You can install wallets and, you can play games and whatever, that sort of thing. It's no different than that. It's just, you can install Android apps, and then for those apps that support the Seed Vault, you can know that your crypto assets are very secure, your Solana assets.
Would you say that for the end user, like the specific person who this phone is kind of marketing is a person who has crypto, like crypto wallets? Like, is that really like primarily that's the specific audience?
Yeah. Right now, we're trying to build momentum. We're trying to build excitement. And so there are definitely some people who are really excited, to build Solana apps and stuff like that. And again, these apps that these people are building, they can be released on Google Play. There's no reason it doesn't have to be for the Saga, but the Saga is purposely like a high-end device that's really targeting like the hardcore people, and like let's get like our core user base that's really excited about this, and really start seeing like lots of apps being built, and then from there figure out how do we widen the market, right? And I do think initially you're going to see apps that don't have very good user experience, right? Like it's just crypto doesn't have that. And so we've got a lot of growing to do. This phone is the first step in a long, a journey of things to come. And I'm going to do everything I can to help people just see that like you're kind of just building a normal, app, but you've got these added features. Like what if you built a game where your character was an NFT that you could take with you, to other games or something like that, right? Like just like simple ideas. I'm going to try and help, get that, in front of people as much as possible, because it doesn't have to be a huge ordeal. And I don't think it should be, I think it should be sort of like, there should be real world problems that are being solved. And right now there is a lot of solutions looking for problems in crypto, but there are real problems that can be solved.
And I think that's part of the challenge. I mean, like, and also part of like the environmental impact of NFTs and like things like that all add to the regular user confusion in my experience, at least. I don't know if you share that or not, but yeah.
No, there is. And like at least with respect to the environmental stuff, Solana is like one of the most environmentally friendly blockchains out there. Like one Solana transaction is the equivalent of like 2 Google searches in terms of energy or something like that. Like it's
that's good to know.
Stupid low. And it's proof of stake. So it's not like, you don't have to have these huge mining rigs. So it's, it's not like Ethereum right now. But yeah, there is a lot of misinformation, and there is a lot of negative sentiment, and there is a lot of scammers. And so, I think that, these are early days, and, everything, I can speak for myself personally and everyone I've met at the company. We all want this to be legitimate. There's a lot of legitimate stuff that can happen. And I think the proof is in the pudding, really. It's like ultimately we all started using smartphones because they were really cool and did some really cool things. And I think that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to build really cool things and that people want to use. And if we don't do that, then we're not going to get anywhere. And if I didn't think that was possible, I wouldn't be doing this. Let's just say that.
Right on.
Yep.
Nice. Well, thank you for kind of adding more context to this, because like you just said, there is a lot of misunderstanding. I know I fall victim to that sometimes when it comes to a lot of the moving parts of Web3 and everything, just because so much is happening so rapidly, and it's nearly impossible to ignore that there are a lot of people kind of taking advantage within that space. And so that instantly sends people down that road. And I know that not everybody has those intentions, but that ends up being a really big challenge, I think, for you guys. And thank you for adding a little bit more context around this. I hope that helps. And if anybody has any insight or thoughts about this, definitely email us AAA@twit.tv, and we will include that in next week's episode in the feedback section. We're going to have feedback a little bit later in this show. No surprise, it's all RCS from last week's interview. So participate in this on this topic, and we'll throw it in next week. But you are not going anywhere, sir. Andrew is joining us for the rest of the episode, and we're thrilled to have you here to offer your insight and your thoughts on so much news. I've even got a review coming up here shortly. So all that's coming up next. But first, let's take a moment and thank the sponsor of this episode of All About Android, and that is SecureWorks. What would happen if an intruder broke into your home and then moved in without you even knowing it? They're sneaking around. They're eating all your food. They're using your Netflix account. Although, maybe they were using your Netflix account because the next time you log in, you're like, I'm not watching that. And meanwhile, you're midway through. I don't know. But imagine an intruder doing that same thing to your IT infrastructure. How many passwords could they compromise? How many systems could they damage or degrade in the process? How many pieces of personal or financial data could they steal? Well, threat actors often hide in plain sight in IT systems for more than 200 days, on average, 200 days before they're detected at all. So what happens when stopping at the endpoint is stopping your ability to properly defend your infrastructure. That is where SecureWorks Taegis Extended Detection and Response comes in. This enables a more comprehensive and effective security posture than ever before. It's one unified, singular point of view, providing unparalleled visibility. It's extensible. That's following data, moving beyond the perimeter and helping organizations unify their prevention, their detection, and their response. It actually mitigates the issue of siloed security solutions that leave coverage gaps for the adversary to leverage. By organizing multiple point solutions and then creating one unified and clear picture of your infrastructure, Taegis XDR can actually help teams prevent threats effectively, detect them super fast, and then respond appropriately. SecureWorks meets customers where they are with managed XDR. You're going to get a SaaS solution that can leverage the SecureWorks experts 24/7, 365 days a year to investigate and then also, of course, respond to threats on your behalf. So you can cut down dwell times, decrease operational burden, and reduce costs. Now, some customers have a large security team and can manage XDR by themselves with minimal contact with their experts. But in most cases, companies have a shortage of security talent, maybe that's you, and need our help to manage and monitor any potential threats to their environment. SecureWorks provides fast emergency response. They've got chat, including incident commanders who will actually find the root cause while preparing you for future threats. So when your organization experiences a breach or maybe a cyber attack, whatever it is, there's no time to spare. As you know, if this happens, you call 1-800-BREACHED, and SecureWorks Emergency Incident Response Team can actually provide you immediate assistance. And they're responding to and remediating that cyber incident, that possible cyber incident or data breach. And they do that 24/7 around the clock. SecureWorks offers a purpose-built XDR solution. It's designed to answer today's evolving security challenges. It's optimized by machine learning, of course, and deep detection capabilities, but it's also refined through human intelligence and insights earned over decades of experience. A Gartner, Forrester, and IDC leader in security operations, not bad. SecureWorks empowers organizations with the collaborative and innovative security solutions required to achieve strong security in an evolving digital world. That's where we are. At SecureWorks, you can learn more about the ways today's threat environment is evolving and the risks it can present to your organization. You'll also find case studies, reports from their counter threat unit, and more. All you got to do is visit secureworks.com/twit. And you'll get a free trial of Taegis XDR. That's secureworks.com/twit. SecureWorks, defending every corner of cyberspace and helping you in the process. And we thank SecureWorks for their support of All About Android. All right. I think it's time for a little review action. Let's jump into hardware. Oh, sorry. No. Sorry. It was the second block, and the one of the headings I didn't change it, so I'm gonna.
You were like on autopilot Segway guy.
No. So there's the little green line that says hardware there.
Oh, I saw it happen. I watched it like a slow moving train wreck. By the way, this is all. This is all staying in the episode. This doesn't get edited out.
Oh, Rod, don't do that to me. All right.
Jason, why don't you throw it to the news?
All right, Burke.
Oh,
Burke, are you ready? It's time for the news. Jeez.
I'm so ready this week to tell you that there's no more Android 13 beta in the news.
No, are you ready for that?
Look at that. He took the reverso kind of approach. Instead of spoiling the news, he leveraged it to talk about a fact, which is true. Because there is no Android 13 beta available. Because guess what?
What?
Android 13 is out in the wild and it exists.
We were wondering if it was going to be earlier or if it was going to be normal, like compared to last.
We've been tracking. I remember a few weeks ago, I went through every Android release from 12 back to Android 7 to see when the release dates were to try to figure out when it would be. I feel like this is the first time it's ever been this early, I think.
It feels
Possibly,
pretty early to me.
Pretty early, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it usually like September, October? Like
Exactly.
Our guess was like September. Was split down the middle. Was like our
most
guess.
of them were like
I guess.
September and October. Some were in late August, early September. But here we are, August 16th, and Android 13 is out. Android 12 came out in October last year. Android 11 the year before that was in September. But hey, we're talking about Android 13. So what do you get if you're gonna upgrade your phone to Android 13? You're gonna get themed icons, right? You're gonna get a wider Material U color styles. You're going to get notification permission becoming an opt-in. You're getting a clipboard editor overlay, spatial audio support with head tracking, which will eventually be supported by the Pixel Buds Pro. You can stream messages from the phone to Chrome OS. You can set the language per app, which is pretty cool. A redesigned media player, Bluetooth LE support, palm rejection for stylus on tablets, and improved multitasking for tablets. So this is all very exciting in the launch of Android 13, but Pixel 6 owners, a little bit of a warning for you. After you flash to Android 13, you will not be able to flash older Android 12 builds anymore. So just be prepared. Yeah, it's very, and how they even do that, but yeah, so you can never go back.
Only forward.
Oh, okay. Actually, so I'm reading. There's an update to Ron Amadio has an article on Ars Technica about this. There's an update where Ron says we have a justification as spotted by Esper's Michal Rahman, and shout out to Michal, who's on this show once a month now. The Android Web Flash tool explains this downgrade prevention is to stop a bootloader vulnerability specific to Android 12. So there's your reason. It's to protect you. But still, nice to know that up front, because if you like to, dip your toe in the water and then go back, you won't be able to do that here. But kind of surprised. I was actually pretty surprised to wake up yesterday and see that they actually just went for it.
Dropped it.
Is this Google getting having an improved process on beta, or does this really not mean that much? I mean, they did start the process a little earlier in the year compared to last year and the years before. So, does it matter that it's earlier? It's just kind of sometimes it works this fast, right?
I think it also has to do with what the beta tracks, they were just ready.
Yeah.
Right. So why sit on it if you're ready? Right. If there was a big problem and they needed a couple more weeks, I'm sure they would have pushed it. But especially if you go back on the Android blog, on the developer blog, they gave the timeline, and there were these vague kind of green lines of the phases, and you didn't get a sense of how long each phase was. If the cake is cooked, take it out of the oven. Right. I don't know.
Does releasing the beta in August set Google up for anything that they didn't have before? I guess where my mind is headed is sometimes the timing of kind of their hardware announcement in October always feels a little late for me. Does this could this possibly be maybe that's too narrow of a focus. Maybe they actually don't think about their Android versions as tightly integrated with their hardware announcement. But would this maybe allow their hardware announcement to be earlier as well? I don't know.
But Jason, they did that last year with the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro. It was so tied to Material U and the new OS.
Yeah.
That's why it launched in October.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
is this just like every action gets an equal and opposite reaction? They rolled it out in October, so now they're going super early.
They're gonna the same week as Apple's big, a fall hardware announcement will be the Pixel announcement. You heard it here first. They're like, yeah, we're moving forward. Let's compete. What do you think, Andrew? Have you spent much time on Android 13? I have to imagine your team has looked at this to some degree. What are your thoughts?
Our phone, our phone is an Android 13 phone, actually.
There you go. Nice.
But I haven't, the Android 13 specific stuff, I haven't really had a chance, to play with. The big thing is the Pixel theme. I had a Pixel 6 Pro, and then I opted for the Galaxy S22 Ultra instead. But the new theme, I think that was Android 12 with kind of the rounder accents and stuff like that. I really like that. I really like that theme, and that's kind of that's baked into AOSP in Android 13, and it just looks really nice. So more phones than just the Pixels could have that pixely look now.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Right.
Because like the Samsung doesn't, right? Like the
Oh
Samsung
no,
works.
Samsung's like, no, we got our own thing going on. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? When is this a day that you like? Were you surprised by this? And what do you think about Android?
Yeah, I've never regretted not having a Pixel phone so much. Like I've tried to be a little bit more, like I said, I've always bought a Pixel phone because stock Android, but I have to admit, and I have really been enjoying the Samsung Z Fold 3. I'm sorry, I like the Samsung. I appreciate One UI, but the definitely not having the beta and having to wait for the One UI 5 beta and not having my Pixel ready now for this has been very surprising. This is the first year I've been not ready for the release, and I think it's very interesting. And I really wish I need to find a Pixel. I think I have my Pixel 5 somewhere. Maybe my husband stole it. But
as a
it's
developer, is there stress related to this moment?
I mean, if you're not ready, you're not ready. It really depends on the app and what features. Yeah. But I mean, for us, my old team. Sorry, not us anymore. My old team. We'd always try to kind of get ahead. I think usually when the first beta would drop, we'd start testing and see if there's anything that was mission critical, whether it's maybe, I think the last thing I remember kind of being an issue was Work Manager, which is a background work scheduler. And that was the last thing where we were we got to spend several weeks making sure that this is up to speed and that we're properly updated. But normally it can be okay. It kind of just depends on what you're using and how much Google has messed with it. But you always want to make sure that you're ready way before this happens. I think usually for us and Andrew pipe in anytime, we kind of basically do a first pass on the first beta, and if anything that's super critical seeming or that seems like it could be a problem, we basically just throw it right on the plate immediately and try to get ready. Since we don't know when this is happening, and a difference of a month or two is kind of bad if things aren't if you aren't prepared. So yes, I don't know, Andrew, any any particularly stressful releases for you?
No, I was just thinking though, as an Android development team, you sort of just learn the new beta's out, so let's get a device and have it installed, right? Because like you say, getting ahead of it 6 months in advance to try out your app. Adobe has a lot of media centric apps, and media APIs can change, or some of the graphics things can change in releases and stuff like that. So there are definite fragmentation risks with new OS versions. But I would say that most dev teams just you're proactive. You're not gonna wait around for the release. You're gonna use the beta. You're gonna have a device, and you're gonna make sure that there's nothing terribly surprising.
I got a quick question along those lines that just popped up while you were talking, Andrew, because I have been installing these betas pretty early on, even though I'm not a developer. So, but often, more times than not, I take the risky maneuver of putting it on my daily driver just because whatever. What's the worst that could happen, right? If it doesn't work, I can revert or whatever. And yes, it's a little painful, but, at the end of the day, it hasn't hurt me that bad. But what I have noticed is every once in a while in those early versions, obviously you're going to encounter apps that haven't validated yet, that haven't made the changes for it to work, so I might try and launch it and it loads up the loading page and then it goes back to the home screen and I can never actually get into it. And there's every once, and these are apps, I'm not going to name names, but there have been a few apps that this will happen beta after beta after beta, and then finally it gets fixed. What is the priority for a team when they know that there is a beta version of the OS out there and their app absolutely doesn't work on it? There's a number of people who still are using it the way I'm using it, and then just literally cannot use that app for however many months until it's fixed.
Yeah, we had that happen. Sorry, no, go ahead, Andrew.
No, go ahead, please.
No, that I don't remember this specific feature, but this was 2 or 3 years ago, and we definitely got a couple of very annoyed reports very early on. I want to say this was beta 1 within a week or two, and a couple people couldn't load something or couldn't I think maybe it was a new API with Windows or something, and something didn't work. And it's really, really hard to prioritize that. It generally depends on how bad it is and how many people are doing it. So right. I think at the time, like, sorry, Jason, not everybody is like you.
I realize that.
We know. Well,
You're
that
special,
goes without
saying,
saying, Win. But
you're one of a kind. No, you're not one of a kind, but you're very special. So I think I've talked a lot on the show about like ROI, and when it comes to something like this, if it's something that we're getting like a couple people, it's like the first beta of like Android 13 or whatever insert version here. We generally have to say we're really sorry. Like, we will support this by the time it comes out, but given that it's just been released, you should probably like revert back, or that we can't fix this right now. If it's kind of a little bit later and it's like really egregious, or it's something that we know is going to trip us up, we'll probably fast track it a little bit. But at this, I mean, we've usually been of the opinion that, okay, we're really sorry. It's Android blah, blah, blah beta. So use at your own risk. And then we'll try to do, we try to like prioritize things that people are really having trouble with, especially if it's something that's worth someone emailing us. Totally. And I think that was like the one time in like 7 years working at Trello, I think it happened maybe twice. So.
Yeah, I mean, the pragmatic answer is that, Android updates roll out fairly slow. You're usually just not getting that many users on the latest and greatest OS. And so, you have to take an approach where it's like, I think what's happening is that you're self-identifying as a beta tester when you do that.
Yeah.
You're just like, all right, I'm going to beta test this.
Right. Yes, indeed. Indeed. I know what I'm getting myself into. So when that happens, I don't get, all frustrated and mad about it. I'm just kind of curious about it. I'm like, wow, it's been 3 months. That app still doesn't launch. That's 3 months that I haven't used that app. And I'm sure they would want me to use it. I'm sure there are other people like me that want to use it, but we can't until it works. But that's what we sign up for, right? Like, if we choose to get on the beta train, we got to expect something like that.
I will say though, it is valuable for if that to happen for you just to email your devs. Like that, it is good though. Like it's hard because we can't fix it right away. Yeah. But at the same time, getting like we do appreciate. Usually if it's polite, we appreciate it more, but we do appreciate getting a heads up on that, because sometimes
tone helps.
Tone helps. But I think still it is helpful, especially again, because, road mapping is hard, like trying to figure out the right timing is hard. So if we get early notice that, hey, like this specific thing is causing a serious issue, that is helpful. So definitely, please, if you're a brave beta tester, definitely let your devs know in a polite way that things are not working, that they need to get on this sooner rather than later. So
yeah, cool. Well, somewhat related to this, although I guess not entirely related to Android 13, but Android releases in general. We don't get many Android distribution number updates these days. Used to get them every month, and on slow news weeks, we'd always have that in there because it's like, well, here's something we can talk about. Numbers, yay!
I love them so much. I love these numbers. I wish we had them all.
You've missed them, haven't you? So we do have numbers right now. The last time they were released, I think, was last May. So it's kind of like every 3 months, or I don't even know if it's every 3 months. It just happened to have some numbers last May. Now we have some for right now. And it turns out that the Android version with the highest numbers, not too surprising, Android 11, 27%. It was at 23.8% back in May, so a little bit of a boost there. Android 10, 22.3%, so slightly lower. Android 9, 14.5%. And then Android 12, that's not the latest because Android 13 just came out. That's not even the right behind Android 13 because that was Android 12L, which isn't on this report apparently. But Android 12 is at 13.3%. And then just a few kind of interesting things back there. Android 8, 10.9%. So that means it's been 5 years since we gorged ourselves on Oreo cookies for an entire year. And I hardly ever eat Oreo cookies ever again. Like I'm burned on them. And then Jelly Bean, all the way at the back of the pack, still holding on at 0.3%. So 0.3% of devices still running that Jelly Bean.
I mean, that has to be kiosks and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I always joke, I'm like, if there's a user of your app, like whatever app that I am working on, and they're using Jelly Bean, like, who are you? Let me buy you a new phone. You know, like
totally.
I can
you win.
Probably 3 people. I will buy you a phone.
You win. Congratulations. You win the I held onto my phone forever and never award. We're going to give you a new one. Okay. So we can just kick that off the report and not have to support that version anymore. I like it. So there you go. I don't know where to go, with these numbers reports, but it is interesting to kind of hear, the breakdown and to see that wonderful pie, not Android pie, but that wonderful pie that 9to5 Google put together to visualize it a little bit.
Well, for Android developers, I think there's a strong case that like you could, if you're starting a new app, targeting like Android 7 and up is probably reasonable.
Yeah.
And that like Android 7 was kind of an interesting moment in terms of like, that's when they had full Vulkan support and, some other things. So it's like you get just some 7 is probably when like Android really entered kind of like the modern age, I would say. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's a boon for a developer to be able to say like, I don't have to support Android 6 or Android 5 or anything like that.
And there's nothing coming from Google that Google isn't applying pressure for you to support all the way back to Jelly Bean at this point, right? Like where does that pressure kind of end? Because I know Google has a little bit of a preference here. Like, we really want you to support to this point. What is that point?
They just give you the stats and you get to decide how many users you want to support.
Okay, so they're not weighing in like.
Yeah. They're not. They'll tell you support more OSs and then you're going to get more users. But you like when you look at the numbers, you're like we're omitting this. Less than 5%. It's like
a fraction of the pie. Yeah.
Yeah, we go through a similar thing. Actually, when you start a new project in Android Studio, it gives you that pie chart and it tells you, as you like select from the drop down like your min SDK, it's like, oh, by the way, that's 8% of people. Ooh, that's 90% of people. So there is like an encouragement to support as low as possible. I think for I keep saying us at Trello for them. We'd often look at, say, Firebase and like Google Play Store and see like our personal distribution, like our apps exact distribution of levels. And then also if you're at a big company where you might have other teams in the company and you might have libraries or tools that they use, then you kind of just have to take a poll of what are your users actually using and what do you need to support, whether that's from a specific feature that you're using at an API level or literally someone else's library kind of thing. And all that kind of comes into play. And you say, And then sometimes you're just like, no, I'm tired of like backporting all this stuff and having all these like if statements as well, if this is lower than 26, don't do anything kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's all kind of in, it generally is, I believe, up to the team. Although Google does try to say like how nice it would be if you supported 90% of users, which is it's really hard.
Well, and at the end of the day also like, okay, 5% doesn't sound like much, but 5% of a very, very large amount of devices actually is a lot of users. Yeah. So there's that too. Yeah.
It's more than you want it to be. Let's say that,
for sure. For sure.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, no question. Well, when you have the last story here, and I realized as I was kind of going over this that you are on the photo picker beat now.
Yeah, I am. As I was joking, kind of in our chat. Well, like I guess I work at Adobe now, so I guess I'm your media girl for all things. But this is really fun. So we've talked about the photo pick before, which is a new workflow / experience / component that has kind of more or less been releasing with Android 13, and it allows for read-only user selection of images and video without requesting permission. So generally speaking, before 13, or rather before the photo picker, your friendly neighborhood dev will, if they need some kind of media from you, request immediate permission, images, video, whatever. And in that case, they get permission to your stuff forever. Now, that might be okay depending on what your app is, but say if you're an app that just needs, like, say, to let your user select a profile pic, giving your the app persistent widespread access to your media might not be the best thing, especially in this more privacy and security conscious world. And so now we have the photo picker, which is a component that users can, that developers can, allow their users to access, which again is read only. Access to photos. So what happens is the photo picker, which is not owned by the app, will do the job of letting the user select the photo, and then the app itself, which kind of is requesting the image or video will only get read-only temporary access to that. So rather than having a permission, which, is, annoying for both users and developers, you're now using the photo picker so that the user can only give the app as much access to photos and videos as needed and only for as long as needed. And so what's really interesting is that, say, the way this works is that what's happening is that there's a service/component in the Android system called the media store/media provider, which does a lot of the work of kind of like cataloging and categorizing media across multiple directories. And then when an app is requesting, a media file, the app will get a URI, basically more like a user. I can't remember what URI stands for, but basically almost like a link to that file. Now, when you are kind of doing traditional permissions, this URI is absolute. It's the actual location ID /ID of that media. Now, with Photo Picker, the way this actually will be working is we're going to get temporary URIs. So once your app process ends, which happens either eventually if you're in the background or if you force quit or if you restart your phone, that URI will no longer be valid. So it's not like, a skeezy app developer can hold on to this URI and try to access your media later. And so this is all really good. I personally am excited about this just because it is a much more user-friendly experience. It also is, without permission. So as a developer, if you're able to support the photo picker, it's just one less permission for you to ask your users to pretty please give us. And I think this is really interesting. And this story is from our very own. I don't have to say a friend of the show anymore. I get to say our very own Michelle Rahman, who dug a little bit into how this photo picker may actually be backported to Android 11 and Android 12. So when it comes to new features on Android, the photo picker is not available on every version of Android. And that's not unfamiliar territory for Android devs. I know Andrew can probably attest to that and pull one's shirt about that. But so a lot of times, depending on what the API is, you might get some backwards compatibility through external libraries, support and compat libraries that allow you to kind of use new things on old versions. But that's not always the case if a feature or new API depends on particular software or even hardware that was literally not available on that backwards version of Android. You're out of luck. Now, this results a lot of times in either, if it's the case where we don't have a kind of backward compatible version or library for this, it results in devs doing a lot of this. And this is literally what we do. We look at the version of Android on the user's phone and we check what the number is. And if we want to use a new feature, we say, well, if the version is greater than whatever the minimum version required for that feature is, then do the thing. That's literally what we're doing. And with the photo picker, it's really, really interesting because that still is kind of the case, but it's a little bit different. So the photo picker is an Android 13 API, but it can also be available on Android 11 and 12. And Michelle goes through a lot of awesome detail in his article. Please go ahead and read. You should always do that instead of listening to me badly explain it and paraphrase it. But basically, because the media provider has become a project mainline module, which is, again, that project where certain systems in the Android operating system were kind of made more modular so that they can be updated independently of the normal release cycle. That actually is really handy in this case because in Android 11, which is when the media provider was made a kind of, project mainline module, you don't have to necessarily have 13. You just have to have that updated media provider, which Michelle cites as the May 2022 Google Play System update. So if you're on 11 and 12, and if you have this Google Play System update, you can still have the photo picker. And so for devs, that means it's really interesting because rather than just checking just the particular version of Android that your app is running on, you also have to check this, SDK extension level, more details and examples on the developer documentation. So I know this is a lot of dev jargon, but it's really interesting how maybe this project mainline has now resulted in this kind of slight backwards compatibility that's a little bit outside of just the regular, Android versioning. So anyway, photo picker, Android 13, and some Android 11 and 12 devices if your Google Play System updates are through May 2022. So yeah, sorry, that was a long rant. I don't know. Andrew, what do you think? Pretty interesting that you're...
What I heard is that now instead of having 6 if statements, we have 10 because we have to check for the SDK and
it's this and that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the best of all worlds.
This and that. So I mean, I guess that's the thing. It's a little more work for us, but I don't know. Do you think that
No, it is better. It is better. Google's been doing a really good job of backporting their libraries lately. You know what I mean? Yeah. And thankfully saturation for Android 11 and 12 is high, so you're getting a lot of devices out of the gate with this. If statements, ignored. Anyway, but no, yes. I do think it's a really good move. It's a really good move, and it's just nice to see Google doing that for so many things, like like with Work Manager and stuff like that. So you have these better APIs that are just better for users and better for security and all that sort of stuff. So I really like seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, I like this, and I think on the documentation, it actually does cite that the reason why they're making devs life just a little bit more complicated is that because of these release independent updates, they can address things like security issues, like the Android developer documentation cites that media is quite a popular vector of attack. So because now that this is on mainline rather than kind of being a kind of baked in part of the OS, if there's like a security issue, you can get updates and fixes and faster. So anyway, I think it's just also worth noting that this photo picker is similar in many ways to the photo picker that was introduced in iOS 14. So I don't know if anyone has their iOS friends like ragging on them about why their photo picker isn't private, but now you can confront them about that. I don't know. Don't confront anybody. Be nice.
Confront.
Confront.
Nicely.
So another thing that Android can do that iOS already did. I could have phrased that better, but yeah.
There we go. I thought you did a great job of explaining that. And guess what? Michelle is in our Slack.
Michelle did too. I was sweating.
You did a great job explaining things when.
I was sweating. Michelle's listening. I thought
it was great. It was great. You did great.
Michelle signed off on it, so you're good. You're good.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
All right, Ron, you got the ad.
All right, well, let's take a break after that and thank our next sponsor of this episode, All About Android, is brought to you by Wealthfront. All right, so Wealthfront is a financial services company founded in 2008 with the goal to make building long-term wealth delightfully easy. If you've seen the market lately, you probably don't like what you saw, but seeing is a matter of perspective, and Wealthfront is an investing app with a different vision, one focused on long-term wealth, designed to weather any market condition, even the one we're in now. With Wealthfront, you get a pre-built, diversified portfolio that spreads your investing eggs across more baskets. It's the time-tested way to build long-term wealth and weather whatever volatility is happening in the market. The trick to wealth isn't timing, it's time, because historically, the market has always rebounded. By automating your investments, it's easier to invest regularly, regardless of the ups and downs of volatility. So if you want to invest for the long term while the market is basically having a clearance sale, do not wait. The time is now. And Wealthfront makes it super easy to start investing. Answer a few questions about your risk level and future plans, and you'll get a personalized portfolio built for the long term. That's really it. And you'll get a $50 bonus if you sign up today. Wealthfront was voted the best overall robo-advisor by Investopedia and is already helping nearly 500,000 people build their wealth with over $27 billion in managed assets. So get a bonus $50 when you start investing with Wealthfront. Sign up today. Just visit wealthfront.com/twit. That's wealthfront.com/twit. This bit of investing wisdom is a paid endorsement from Wealthfront. And thank you, Wealthfront, for being so awesome and making it easy to invest. Thanks, Wealthfront.
Thank you, Wealthfront. You're awesome. Ooh. You're so awesome, Wealthfront. Thank you. Okay. Now, I know I jumped the gun. I'm really excited about this review, and I wanted to do it earlier, but then we had the format of the show that said, no, we got to do news now. Okay, we did the news. Are you happy? It's time for hardware. Let's do it. Okay, I need to take a few deep breaths. This is not an aggressive, angry review. This is a good review. I am a big fan of Pixel Buds. I have used the original. Well, okay, so there was the first generation Pixel Buds that had the wire. Ron, you used those, right?
I used those for many, many years, just until I switched them for the new Nexigo ones.
That's right.
Yeah, but I was I love those first Pixel Buds. They were great.
Yeah, they had the little wire. They were wireless, but they had the wire between them, right? Am I remember that? Remember
they had the cord between them, which I don't think was a wire. It was just a way to keep them together around your neck.
Oh, I see.
Could you detach it? I don't remember that.
No,
you couldn't detach it.
You couldn't.
Oh, wow, interesting. Okay.
They wrapped around the case when you charged it. Remember, it was like a looping mechanism type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Interesting because that was part of the Pixel Buds family, but yet so divorced from the kind of aesthetic of the Pixel Buds that came after it. And now when I think of Pixel Buds, I think of what I have right here, which is the next iteration of the Pixel Buds. These are the Pixel Buds Pro, which if you're just looking at the case and actually the buds themselves, got a little scuff on there, looks very similar to what you had before with the previous version, the Pixel Buds, and then the Buds A, the Pixel Buds A, which I also like. Those were the less expensive ones. These are a little bit more. These are the Pixel Buds Pro. And why are they Pro? Well, you can see I've got a nice little color to them. I think this is coral, if I'm not mistaken. But what you'll notice is they're a little bit thicker, and that's because these have active noise cancellation. So that's kind of the upgrade that makes these Pro. Now, coming soon, we mentioned this earlier in the show, Google has announced that these are going to get spatial audio support at some point. They do not have that right now, so I would consider that kind of a negative if you actually really care a lot about spatial audio support. You get them. It's one of those cases where it's like it's advertised or it's known that these are going to get them at some point, but not yet. But Android 13 supports it, so hey, maybe that was the thing they were waiting for. Who knows? But as I did with my review last time with the OnePlus 10T, I think I'm gonna save the like hardcore specs and just kind of go through the good, the indifferent, and the bad. So the good. The case form factor, I love this form factor. The case, just if you have one of these, like it's really nice quality. It feels really nice in the hand. It has that Zippo quality to the lid that's just really satisfying. Nice clicky action. That's just, it's kind of a fidget toy in and of itself. It really is. But pretty awesome. It has easy pairing as well. So if you've got a phone nearby and you haven't paired with it, you just kind of open the lid and almost immediately on the phone it'll say, hey, the Pixel Buds are nearby. If they're registered to you, if you've registered these to a phone before, then that will come up and it'll say, it basically recognizes like, oh, your Pixel Buds are available right now. Do you want them on this phone too? And you can pair them up. And that's really cool because you can pair with two phones simultaneously and then automatically switch between the phones, which is pretty sweet. So if I'm logged into two phones that this is synced to, I can be connected to both of those and it will automatically kind of switch between them based on which phone I'm using and everything, which is really neat. I think that's an AirPods feature that Google finally brought over to their Pixel Buds Pro. Audio quality, a definite step up. I wouldn't say it was like a monumental step up, but definitely improved sound quality compared to what I'm used to with the Pixel Buds. And you do get bass boost feature, which is kind of an EQ feature. So I'd say nice to get the bass boost capability, but then the bad is that there's no EQ outside of bass boost. So if you really want to kind of get in there and shape the sound of the Pixel Buds, you can't really do that outside of that bass boost quality. Wireless charging on the case still. Hands-free assistant, that hasn't changed. That's one of my absolute favorite features of the Pixel Buds is that I can hands-free say, hey G, if I'm on a run and I don't want to pull out my phone and I want to skip the track or turn up the volume to 30% or whatever, I can do those with my voice without having to even touch the bud and it'll just do it. But if you have to touch the bud, that's fine because the touch controls are really great on these as they were on previous versions. It's really a lot of, it's everything that I really like about the older versions. Plus, it has that active noise cancellation, which I feel is pretty solid. I've heard better. Like I was at a car wash and using these, and so that's a lot of that kind of like psh, kind of white noise stuff, and it was able to isolate mostly, but there was still a little bit of bleed through, and I know that I've had other active noise cancellation earbuds do a better job than that, but I wouldn't say they're bad. I would love to put them through the airplane test and see how they do there. On the indifferent side of things, they are kind of slightly larger than, I should have brought the other ones in to show, but they're kind of a little bit extra space. So when they sit in your ear, let's see here, let me put one in my ear. I don't know if it'll even be possible to see this in the side, but I know that it sticks out just a little bit more than some of the other, the A series and the original ones that I've tried. Oh, there you go. So you can kind of see it pops out. And I feel like the other ones, they sit a little bit further in. Might not matter as much, except for the fact that one thing that these do not have, and I consider this a bad, is the older version of these buds had this little hook on them, had this like little rubber hook on the end that would go into kind of one of the folds in your earlobe. And I found that to be a really nice stabilization feature that this no longer has. So it's larger and it doesn't have the hook. So I just found the comfort to be just a little bit less than I'm used to. It's not quite as secure fit, not quite as comfortable, but it wasn't horrible. I mean, it's still, I could wear them for hours and it wasn't a big deal. The battery life is pretty good, although it's 5 hours with active noise cancellation, which is okay. Not amazing, not horrible. As far as the bads, I've given you a couple of those. Well, I've given you most of those, actually. I think the only one that I haven't mentioned is that we don't have any additional codecs, like a low latency codec like aptX Adaptive. But they're $199. A little pricey, but I think when you're talking noise cancellation, active noise cancellation, that's kind of the price range for a lot of those earbuds that you see these days. You can get the A series for $99. You could probably get it for less than that. I haven't checked recently, but that's what it was selling for before. So if you want to take a step down, go the A series, you'll cut off half the price. But if you want the active noise cancellation, $199, and I think they're pretty good. Any I don't know, Andrew, are you a Pixel Buds user?
I am. I have the A series.
Yeah, I like the A series a lot.
Yeah. So I'm curious, how does the audio quality compare?
So I don't have the A series anymore. That was a loaner from Google. I shipped that back a while ago, so I couldn't directly compare. But I always kind of felt that the audio quality between the original Pixel Buds, which I still do have and compared against, and the A series was pretty darn close. So I have to imagine it would be the same. A little bit of a step up, not monumental. You know what I mean?
Yes, worth the upgrade is the question.
Yeah, I mean, that is a good question. The A series is just a great value at $99. And, I think at the end of the day, is it worth the extra $100 for active noise cancellation? And a part of me kind of feels like it's not. Like, for $99, you get a pretty darn solid pair of headphones. But if ANC is a have to, this is a great choice. So that would be my suggestion there. But yeah, pretty awesome. It's one thing that I find kind of interesting is I guess Google has in New York a store that you can go in and you can try these on, which I just kind of find weird for earbuds that you put in your ears.
They've got to give you the little pads. Maybe you get to take the pads home.
Yeah, right.
It's like a little gift to incentivize you to buy it.
Those little rubber pads, yeah. But they make them gold, so that they stand out. It's like, well, if you get them, you've got these limited edition gold rubber pads, for yours that you can keep. We don't need them. So anyways. So there you go. Pixel Buds Pro. That's my review. Do you have the Pixel Buds, Win, before we move on?
I do. I don't know which ones I have. I don't have the A series. I have the other ones.
So you have the first ones of this form factor.
I have the cord. Actually, I do have the A series. I'm really sorry. I have too much.
The app tells you if you're one. I actually didn't know either, but I just opened the app and it actually says, well, I guess I didn't change the name, but it was like my A series. I'm like, I did not know I had. I actually didn't know I had the A series.
Oh, okay.
I've had like many Google Buds. I actually liked the cable on the first one. I thought it was a really neat design, unique feature. And then you start sweating on it when you work out with it. That's kind of gross. I will miss the little, like you mentioned, the little ear fold arm, because I think I'm not alone here in that my ears apparently are shaped in a way that is not conducive to a lot of buds.
Yeah.
So I kind of really did enjoy just that a little bit.
I definitely did. Yeah.
Yeah. My other strategy is just to shove them in my ears as hard as I can, which I hear is not a good idea.
Yeah.
So I do miss that. I don't know. I feel like I used to always have noise cancellation for like planes and stuff, and I feel that as I get older, maybe my ears are getting worse. I don't need it much, but I need noise cancellation less, and that's just my particular way of living. So
we're also not flying as much. Like when I was flying more, noise cancellation was really appealing, and now it's like I'm listening to headphones at home. Like I kind of don't want everything sealed off. If my kids need me, I want to know that they're standing right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I'm intrigued. I'm glad that you're generally positive. I think I might stick with my A series for a bit though.
Yeah.
Just for the lack of ear nubbins, and also for the I don't really need noise cancellation.
Yeah, and it's another $200. It's not like Google's allowing you to trade your A series to get a certain price knocked off of it. Uncle Bick in chat room has asked about call quality for the person that you called, and I did make some calls with this, but I did not ask the person on the other end how things sounded. I did not get though.
I can't hear
what was
you,
that?
right?
What was that? What did you say? I didn't get that anytime. And they sounded great. I forgot to ask them how the sound quality was on the other side. So I apologize, Uncle Vic. I don't have that.
Do you guys keep the tapping on? I find the tapping always like bothers. Like I accidentally touch it somehow. Like even when my hand isn't there.
Or you go to like put, make the adjustment in your ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just turned it off. I couldn't take it.
Yeah.
I turned it off too. Yeah, and I think a couple of my other friends at my old job did the same thing.
Them over there.
Oh, them over there. Not we, them over there.
I keep it on. But yes, it does happen from time to time. It can be a little annoying, but anyways, that's the Pixel Buds Pro. When you get to talk a little bit about some fancy new devices from Samsung.
Yes,
lucky you.
I know. Well, I mean, now that I'm excited about Samsung devices, again, sorry, me 5 years ago, but our very own Florence Ion gave a quick recap of Galaxy Unpacked, which, by the way, hopefully, instead of just, listening to me run it down, you got to, follow Ron and Jason as it happened live and get to see their reactions.
Heck yeah.
If you happen to miss it, you can go watch it, but I guess if you're okay with a few spoilers, here's an outline of what you got to see. You got to see the Galaxy Z Flip 4, which, we knew was coming. And in fact, some of the colorways, I think one of them is already sold out for August 26th shipment. So if you are seeing it and you want some bespokeness or you want some cool colors, you better get it while you can. We also saw the Galaxy Z Fold 4. And I also had a really amusing story where I went to the Samsung site and saw that for some reason the Samsung Fold 4 was $799, and I thought somehow we got it wrong, and I started adding it to my cart, and I didn't realize that they tricked me and I had to do a trade-in. So
yeah, they do that by default when you go there and you set it up, and they're like, trade-in is on by default, and so the price you get is like way lower. Although you have the Z Fold 3 or the Z Flip 3, or is it the
Fold 3?
Fold 3.
I had the Fold 3. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you'd get a pretty big discount if you use that for trade-in.
I would, but now I feel like I've been lied to, so I don't think I'll do that. But if you're okay with the $1,800, you can now get the Galaxy Z Fold 4. It's still tempting, but we also announced the Galaxy Watch 5 and the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro and the new Galaxy Buds Pro, hopefully with less nickel allergies in your ears. But yeah, again, for those that didn't get to watch the event and want a play-by-play, blow-by-blow, they should, check out the recording of the live stream that Jason and Ron did. Ron and Jason, any just general thoughts and impressions for those that didn't catch it? Well,
it was the typical, and I don't mean typical in a bad way, but it was the well-formed, complete Samsung experience, right? So you saw like, the fashion forward, stylish lifestyle approach, right? With the Z Fold, right? And then the Z Flip in the beginning of the Flip, and then you moved into the more productivity pro side of things with the Fold, and then eventually the watch, right? And so it's very well thought out about like what persona do you have, and this is the equipment you need from Samsung in order to fit that persona. Mm-hmm. So, Jason, do you concur?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's become really clear that the Flip is, we talked about this on the live stream, but the Flip really is the foldable to beat right now. It is the foldable that is, Samsung's 4 years of experience now with this once very experimental kind of side thing. Now that's stepped into the main role of, where the Note used to be, right? So that's kind of like graduated up. Samsung's been doing this now for 4 years. Everyone else is kind of playing catch up, which is not to say that everybody else, those other brands that have foldables aren't producing good foldables, but Samsung's just they're at a refining point right now. It's like they kind of got through the big hurdles, and now it's a little bit more incremental, but they can afford to do that because everyone else is still trying to kind of prove that they also have a foldable thing going on. And Samsung, markets this globally, whereas a lot of the other brands, might only be in China, but they've got great devices, but they're only selling to China, so that worldwide market is inaccessible to them. That Flip is just really appealing for a number of different reasons to the everyday smartphone buyer or the smartphone buyer here in the US that goes into the store and says, I want a new smartphone, I want a nice one, and I'm willing to spend $1,000 on a phone. They could get any number of phones that look just like everything else. They get to get this one that folds up into this small clamshell that's highly customizable. It's a lifestyle play, and I think that's going to continue to work really well for Samsung.
So I will say, to follow up on this, after the Samsung Unpacked event finished, Jason, we were chatting, and I talked about, these are great to see, and these presentations are good, and really think that Samsung is the leader in foldables, but I'm looking for them in the wild, right? Who are the people using these? And then sure enough, Saturday night, I went to the Mets game, and it was one of those in-between innings moments when they had somebody in the stands, and the camera was on them, and the video was on the big Diamond Vision, watching whatever the game was, and there was somebody to the left of the person on camera holding a Flip, taking pictures.
There we go.
With their Galaxy Flip. And I was like, hey, there's a Flip in the wild. Right? Like, and not only that, 40,000 people can see it at the game.
Yeah,
so
in the bleachers.
That was pretty cool.
There's a Flip in the bleachers.
A cynical take would be that's like a really, really subtle ad campaign by Samsung. They somehow
the funny thing you say, Andrew, is that like Samsung is a sponsor in the stadium. Like there's Samsung screens all over the thing. And
they were looking. They were
I don't know if that was a placement or not. If it was or wasn't, it was very effective. But so
there's in between hits, they're like scanning the audience, the crowd. They're like, oh, that's definitely a Samsung phone. Okay, we need something over there.
Tighten on that.
I bet. I wouldn't be surprised if a little bit of that happens.
You could see it happening.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. So there you go. Ron, take us home.
I will take you home for sure, because speaking of Samsung being a leader in foldables, one area that we didn't touch upon at all, despite our year of the tablet, which is it still the year of the tablet, Jason? I'm not sure.
I think so. Yeah, it's still the year.
Yeah,
it's the same
year. So Samsung might have a foldable trick up its sleeve in the tablet area. Sam Mobile says it does. That Samsung plans to announce a foldable tablet along with its Galaxy Tab S9 series sometime in January, February 2023, and no clue what that form factor will be. Will it be like the Surface Duo? Will it be bigger? Will it be like, no idea what it might be, but is Samsung going to apply their foldable technology to tablets? If so, sign me up. I'm all for it. I love it. It's crazy.
Z Fold, Z Flip, Z Tab, Z Flex. Yeah,
Z Flex. Yeah,
they had the Flex. And they had the book one. I forgot what the book one was called. Like the one that where the screens like an ease of a
that's right. Yeah. Well, the screenshot we just
the S one.
The one that we're looking at right now. That's literally like a Z. Is how it folds. The Flex.
Wasn't that how the Z came about?
What's that?
I thought isn't that actually how the Z name came about? Was from like that first one that did the Z?
In the shape of it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I seem to remember that's ringing bells in my head. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't try that with your Z Fold or Z Flip.
Definitely don't make it do
Not
that.
recommended.
Don't make it do that, please. No.
Your Z Fold cannot do that yet. So just letting
yet.
you know. All right. That's kind of compelling, I suppose.
Hey, I love it. Bring a new form factor into the mix, and it's sign me up.
Yeah.
So.
How much would that thing be, though? That thing's.
Oh my lord!
If the Z Fold is $1,800.
$1,800.
How much would a tablet size? Although at the same time, tablets generally are less expensive than phones for some reason. So why is that? I've never understood that. Like tablets are like
That's a good
phones,
point.
but larger, but yet they're less expensive because they're tablets and not phones. I don't know.
Because telephony and just other hardware, not other.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Something like
It's
that.
confusing though. So who knows?
Yeah.
That tablet will be $3,000.
Heck
and
yeah.
they won't sell any of them if it's that. But anyways, what do I know? I'll tell you who I know and who we know. That was a horrible segue. J.R. Raphael, and he's back. He's got an Android intelligence tip for you all. It has something to do with Magic Eraser.
Well, hello again. Lovely to see everyone as always. All right, I don't want to dilly-dally because we've got a really cool tip to talk over today. If you pay enough attention to Android news, and look, if you're here, I'm guessing you do, you've probably heard plenty of oohing and eyeing over the Magic Eraser feature Google cooked up for its Pixel 6 and Pixel 6a phones. You've heard of that thing, right? It's that really neat system that lets you just touch any area of any photo on your phone to erase an object in the image. I don't know, maybe a street sign that looks like it's protruding from your head, or even a gangly goofus who walked through the background right as you were snapping a selfie. True to its name, Magic Eraser really does feel like magic, but unless you've got a Pixel 6, Pixel 6 Pro, or Pixel 6a, well, it doesn't do you much good, does it? I've heard from so many people over the months who were just super disappointed about that, just wishing they could get their hands on that Magic Eraser option, with an older Pixel model or whatever other random Android phone they happen to be holding. Well, today I've got your answer. Let me show you. My fellow Android appreciator, allow me to introduce you to Magic Eraser. Same name, same purpose, and honestly, it's pretty darn close to the same level of effectiveness as what Google put on its Pixel phones too. The difference is that this Magic Eraser is a simple web app. That means it'll work on any Android device, as well as pretty much any other computer, tablet, phone you happen to be holding. And the way it works is almost shockingly similar to the Magic Eraser option on the Pixel 6 devices too. So you just pull up the site, magiceraser.io, in the browser on whatever device you're using, click that upload image button right there in the middle, then find and select whatever photo you want to mess around with on your phone. For our demo purposes here today, I went and dug up an old shot I found of myself standing in front of, well, an appropriately named retail establishment. It's not a terrible picture, mind you, rumpled appearance of the main subject aside, but I'd look a lot better without that sign on the fence over to the left, don't you think? So just like with Google's Magic Eraser, all I'll do is use my finger, or any other appendage for that matter, to draw over the areas I want to erase. Every time I let go, whatever I painted over just magically disappears. It's pretty much all there is to it. Now, here's the best part. This Magic Eraser tool is completely free to use, doesn't require any signups, personal info to be shared, anything like that. The site's super clear about the fact that whatever images you work with on it are never stored long-term. Anything you upload is purely yours, entirely private, only there while you're working with it. No real catches, no real asterisks involved. That site again is magiceraser.io, and now you know. And now you can erase away to your heart's content on any phone or other gadget you happen to be using. Hey, remember, if you want more time-saving tips like these, come check out my Android Intelligence newsletter. You'll get 3 things to try every Friday and 3 custom bonus tips as soon as you sign up. Just head over to androidintel.net/twit. That's androidintel.net/twit. I'll see you there, and I'll see you right back here next week.
Thank you, JR. That's awesome. So
cool.
Magic Eraser for the rest of us. Opened up in the form of a web app. There's so many cool web apps right now that do all this like interesting AI stuff so easily. So yeah, Don't have to get locked into the Google Photos app to do it or the camera. That's neat. I like it.
Very cool. I will say the Magic Eraser is something that I have shown other people on my phone, and people go, "Whoa!"
Is it an ooh-ah moment?
Yeah, it's an ooh-ah moment for sure. For sure. Yeah. So.
Then there's the new camouflage feature, which I haven't really used. That's the thing is like something like Magic Eraser is neat. I never think to use it though. You know what I mean? It's like I'm so used to at this point, however many years I've been taking far too many pictures with my phone that I'm just so used to like, all right, there's my picture, 5 of them. Move on. There's another picture, 5 of them. Yep. And it just builds up and builds up. I never take time to like go back and like do these edit things. Yeah. I don't know. Do you ever take that time?
Remember to do it? No, I'm the same way. And actually when I had the Pixel 6, where when you take a picture, it takes a few on either side and then you can pick which one you want. Like that was amazing because right then you can choose the one that's right, but and now I don't have that, and I actually really miss that. But yeah, like I'm like you, sometimes I'll take photos and be like, oh, I can go back and edit this or reframe it later, and you never do. So it's just like,
Right. Yep, exactly. Well, let's take a quick break, and then we will get into the final part of this show, which is a lot of feedback about RCS, and we got some words to read. But I think it'll be really good because there was a lot of varied opinion about RCS in the interview in general. So we're going to get to that in a moment. But first, this episode of All About Android is brought to you by New Relic. Now, I know lots of developers. We here know lots of developers. You are some of the most curious people. It's kind of part of being a developer. You're very curious. You want to make things work. The first, you might be the first to actually explore the latest technology, or you're digging into documentation. Not only wanting to know how things work, but also the why behind it. That's exactly why so many engineers turn to New Relic. New Relic gives you data about what you build and then shows what's really happening in your software lifecycle. It is a single place to see the data from your entire stack, so you don't have to go looking into 16 different tools and then make those connections manually. That's got to save you a lot of time and headache. New Relic pinpoints issues down to the line of code, so you know why the problems are happening and so that you can resolve them quickly. That's why ops teams at DoorDash, GitHub, Epic Games, and more than 14,000 other companies use New Relic to debug and improve their software. When teams come together around data, it allows you to triage problems, be confident in decisions, and reduce the time needed to implement resolutions using data and not just opinions. Data is everything, right? Use the data platform made for the curious. Right now, you can get access to the whole New Relic platform and 100 gigs of data per month free forever. How about that? No credit card required either. Sign up at newrelic.com/AAA. And I'll spell that out for you. It's NEWRELIC. newrelic.com/AAA. Go check that out, and you'll be happy that you did that. newrelic.com/AAA. And we thank New Relic for their support of All About Android. All right, it's email time, AAA@twit.tv, 347-SHOW-AAA. If you want to leave us a voicemail in your voice. Ron, you got the first of 3 in this RCS triple threat, if you want to call it that.
These are epics. This is like the James Joyce of Android discussion here. Here we go. All right, so our first email comes. It is so much that is more than the cell in the spreadsheet we look at. I have to expand my window to get it all. So Rogelio Cruz in Manila, Philippines writes in, which is awesome. Love that we're reaching the Philippines.
Yeah.
Rogelio, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. It's probably Rogelio or something like that, so I apologize. He says, I had the same thought as Jason. Why has the U.S. been locked into OS native messaging platforms, particularly iMessage, while other markets seem to have no issues as they use OTT apps that are OS and device agnostic? In my market, the Philippines, the one communication platform that rules us all is clearly Facebook Messenger. A very close second is Viber. Jason, do you remember Viber back in the day when we were reviewing it?
I only remembered Viber once, I read this email. I was like, oh, yeah, there we go.
Viber.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So anyway, he says Facebook Messenger has gotten to the point that people over here no longer really care to know the phone numbers of their contacts. We basically just look everyone up on Messenger for personal or business communication and everything in between. Even large companies have formally adopted Messenger as a customer experience and e-commerce touchpoint, which is horrifying. But anyway, that's my editorial. Sorry. It's even more puzzling for me that the U.S. has stuck to iMessage, considering that, I dare say it doesn't even provide a very good user experience. My work phone is an iPhone. I've been using the blue bubbles with the one person I know who still prefers to communicate via SMS/iMessage, and the message threading system is really just so terrible. Back navigation is inconsistent. When I try to get out of a subthread, I most usually end up going back straight to the inbox. This is only between me and one other person chatting on iMessage. This never happens to me in a group chat of 40 people on Facebook Messenger. As for RCS, I've experienced one of those early bugs where the app doesn't switch to plain SMS when it's having trouble sending the message as RCS.
Frustrating.
I've experienced unsent messages piling up because of this in a few extremely inconvenient situations, so I've forever disabled RCS on my Z Fold 3. Again, no big issue because there's Messenger. If I want to make sure my message gets through, even if the person is offline, then I go SMS. If I want rich communication, then I go online on Messenger. Well, there you go. I precisely don't need RCS.
Boom.
And this is a great POV, and if you just swapped Facebook Messenger to WhatsApp, I could have written this, right? Because, and we've talked about this in the Messenger, kind of the Messenger wars over the years, but like the dependency on SMS and MMS, and then also now RCS as like protocols that handle the messaging versus IP-based apps that transfer data that happen to be in message format with encryption and things like that. It is just a superior experience in my opinion, because it's no different than email or a web page or whatever. It's going over the IP pipes and all this sort of stuff. And the number of times that I'm not within a Wi-Fi network, with solid Wi-Fi is few and far between, partially because of the pandemic and stuff like that. Now, that said, if I went out more often and I didn't have access to Wi-Fi and LTE was shaky, if I was in a developing nation or things like that, then these protocols are important. But, here we are in the Philippines, and Facebook Messenger is a data-based platform like WhatsApp that is handling the messaging with no problem. So, I don't know.
But at the same time, in this example, in the Manila, Philippines, with Rogelio, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, they encountered a situation where I imagine at one point it was SMS, and then they were able to successfully move everybody over to one of these apps. And that's like the crux of my main question. Why here in the US are we not willing to do that? What is the difference between what we have going on here, that we just lock ourselves into SMS/RCS or whatever, and almost everywhere else, they've successfully moved everyone over away from that into these other app experiences. Do you have any insight on this? Like, any thoughts on this, Andrew?
Well, I actually listened to the episode, and it was a really interesting discussion. And I really resonate with the last letter. And, it's interesting because, and you guys were talking about people getting, and maybe it was the gentleman from Google as well, talking about people kind of getting left out of conversations because they didn't have iMessage. All this is to say, it's like, to me, it in a way is kind of a failure for both Google and Apple to recognize the ubiquity and benefits of having a unified messaging, perhaps IP-based platform.
Yeah.
Because people are doing what everyone's talking about. Like, the shared platform is not SMS. The shared platform is not iMessage. So in these other countries, in these other locations, people are picking something. Viber, I thought WhatsApp was king everywhere. It's interesting to hear that it's Facebook Messenger. People are solving this problem the way that they know how, right? So it's to me, it's really it's a failure. Like, Google and Apple, there's more incentive now with the amount of people using smartphones. There's more incentive now to have a unified IP-based chat protocol than ever. So that's my take on it. And I'm not sure RCS is the right solution, but that's just kind of where I come from. So it's just tough that this is where we are.
Yeah.
Well, with RCS, we're not really any closer to a solution.
Right. Burke in our Slack is making the point that the U.S. is so dominated by the iPhone. That's why we're there. But which is true. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. But even outside of the iPhone, there's still this SMS addiction, if you want to call it that, Anyways, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this one or anything?
A few. So first, Rogelio is actually a repeat feedbacker. He actually was the one who commented on the Snapdragon Insider phone and said it was not his problem.
So
there it is.
So please continue to send us feedback, and also maybe next time let us know how you pronounce your name properly, so we don't. So we can
get it right. We want to get it right.
So we get it right. Yeah. But please keep sending feedback, Rogelio. I'm sorry. It's a very interesting problem, and I get like the ideal of RCS and having everyone in the world as we're supremely interconnected as we are supremely connected to both like each other globally and also to smartphones on the same protocol. That being said, I always hear we've heard the argument several times if Google would just build a better messaging app, then the world would come. Obviously their approach has been a little mixed in success, so we can leave it there. But also, I feel like just other than it's not like a mousetrap where you can each have your own mousetrap in isolation of everybody else. Chats are networks. Like a chat app is worthless if you do not have a network on it, and so the way that this world has developed its many chat apps and its many networks is seemingly outside the US, local country-based networks. So like Kakao in Korea, Line in Japan, the one that's number one in China. I kept thinking of the
WeChat?
WeChat, yes, WeChat. Thank you. WeChat. Yep. And then there's like the whole other discussion about WeChat being its own more than just a chat platform. So I think there's an unfortunate baggage of history where, we're at a point where it makes sense for us all to be on RCS, but it's just like in the US where we have highways everywhere and it's really hard for us to switch to public transportation. Yeah. The groundwork has been laid out. The people's networks are what really matter when it comes to chats. Honestly, you need to be where your friends and your family are, and not what you think is the ideal technology for better or for worse, unless it drastically fails. Indeed. So I am sympathetic very much to this where, okay, if everyone I'm using, if my business contacts are using Messenger, then I have to be there whether I like it or not. And so I don't know how Google can... as you said, Jason, we had to move everybody to a different network. I don't know how to do that. It was hard enough to get a lot of my friends and family on Signal. They actually finally got there more or less, but it took years. So maybe, I don't know, maybe there's like a different messaging or different tactic that we could go in, aside from asking pretty please Apple to support RCS to, I don't know, appeal to people to appeal to something else and to get whole networks and not just Apple to support RCS. I don't know. That's kind of my feeling. It just feels like a lot of... entropy and already kind of established things in the system that I really appreciate RCS for what it's trying to do. I'm just a little pessimistic at this point.
Yeah.
So I think the only way a standard could be created is if Google and Apple both came together and decided on what it was, and they said we are both going to do it. And if you don't do that, but it's
never going to happen.
Yeah. There is incentive for them to work together. Apple maybe Apple wants to pretend like they're the only, game in town. They know they're not. Google, I don't know. I get, maybe I'm idealistic, but that would work ostensibly, right? If Google and Apple said this is the way. Maybe at this point it's too late. I don't know.
I would say years ago, in different iterations of Apple and different iterations of Google. Yeah. Clearly Google with the campaign is trying to take the high road here and say let's be universal and do stuff like that. It's and I know it's easy to crap on Apple, but it's this market defining feature set that they are claiming the superior experience through iMessage, and it's a market differentiator between iOS that is just I just have no patience for and I'm exhausted with. Honestly, it ties back Andrew to the Web3 conversation, right? This is iMessage is not decentralized. Right. It is the antithesis of Web3. It's just frustrating. Yeah. But this might be a good segue.
Yeah, absolutely. Anonymous writes in, if that is your real name, and says, you do know that Apple is a business, not a charity case, right? All companies try to make money. Having Apple adopt RCS is like asking Tesla to forget about their proprietary charging networks so all EVs can have the same advantage as Tesla does with their car. That is the selling point of Tesla. If you need to charge, you can use our superior network, but in a pinch, you can use others. Not as good, but you can use others. That is how Apple users feel about talking to Android folks. We can text, but it won't be as good as another iPhone person. Why would Tesla make that move, or Apple, to help out their competitors be on an even playing field? If all of Google's failed attempts did not fail, you think they would blink an eye at the fact if the situation was reversed? To be honest, this SMS RCS situation makes them sound like they're saying, come on guys, I know it's been 11 years since iMessage has come out and we finally have something, but for it to work, I need you all to drop iMessage altogether. This is an Android problem, not Apple. Apple people get frustrated when talking to Android people, which only makes us like our Apple devices better. As a company, that is what Apple wants. The other problem is that people still have to download Google Messenger and drop their other messaging platform for this to work. Another fragmentation. Yeah, very, very appropriate. And I think there's a lot of people that kind of feel this way. Maybe there's a reason you're anonymous. You don't want us to know who you are, iPhone user. But yeah, this is a big part of the challenge, you know? Yeah. And then when you have the honors of the... Well, I'm not going to say it.
Okay. Well, in the last of our great trilogy of RCS emails,
it's as if that surprised you.
Is okay. Okay. So the third RCS email, which is our thank you, email of the week, is from Jeff from Knoxville, Tennessee. All right. So Jeff writes, I've been excited by the promise of RCS for years and opted in to using it the first chance I got. I 100% believe in the dream that your guest has been moving message forward. That said, maybe Google should put the effort they're putting into marketing towards Apple into getting RCS working on a platform they control first. A couple of mornings ago, just after Google launched this push, my wife and I, both Pixel 6 users, woke up completely unable to message each other. It didn't work in either direction. You know who we could message? Apple people, because SMS just works. After several days of only being able to use SMS fallback with her, I went into settings and cleared the data on the Messages app, which restored RCS to a working state. Why did I think to do that? Because I have to do it every time I leave the country and come back. Do Apple users have to clear their iMessage app several times a year just to retain the ability to message people? I kind of doubt it. You asked about third-party app support for RCS, but there's even a problem with Google's own apps. Want to send a voice message from Android Auto or Google Assistant? It'll send as an SMS. What about declining a phone call with quick response? Also SMS. How can Google say that SMS should no longer be used as the least common denominator when their own apps can't even function without it? Google paints a rosy picture about RCS being modern and fully standardized, but it's just another example of Google's fundamental inability to handle messaging. I do hope Apple adopts RCS, not for any of the reasons your guest listed, but for the simple reason of schooling Google about how broken their implementation of RCS is. Oh my gosh, that is some spice.
Yeah,
that is email with like a side of ghost pepper and habanero spice. For years, so Jeff continues, for years I scoffed about iMessage on Android because RCS is an open standard that they should use instead of their closed solution. Now, I actually think I'd switch it just so that I can get out of Android's completely broken RCS SMS messaging. And Jeff from Knoxville, Tennessee, for that epic spicy shade, whatever you want to call it, that extra side of hot sauce with your email, that is why you are the email of the week. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Very nice.
Thoughts and responses to Jeff?
I have experienced this exactly.
Yeah.
And this is one of my problems with RCS. I'm willing, as you know, the person on this show that said earlier, like I install betas early on, and I'm willing to live with the challenge and the struggle of that. I have the patience for that. My wife does not. She keeps RCS chat off because we have had this exact experience. She needed to get in touch with me. It wouldn't send. It wouldn't fall over. She's wondering why, because she doesn't understand the technology like I do. She doesn't know to check the settings to go into that RCS chat area and see if it says connected or trying to connect, because sometimes it would just randomly switch to trying to connect. And so she was like, well, what happens if I turn it off? I said, well, then it just sends like SMS. You don't get all these features. She's like, but can I reach you? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, turn it off. I don't need it. And boom. Done. Like, how do you defend against that? Right. Like, that's not going to fail. This might. And so you're going to go with the thing that's not going to fail. I don't know how you defend against that.
It's hard not to. Yeah.
You know, as much as I would love to have RCS on with her for those extra features. But yeah, you're right. If you need to reach me, and this proves that it's not going to work sometimes and you can't trust it, then I understand. So we don't have it activated between us, and I get it. And that's going to hold it back. Because at the end of the day, it requires that data connection, whereas SMS requires a completely different thing. But at the same time, like, iMessage requires data. So why? Yeah. But iMessage falls back to SMS when it doesn't work, and I don't know why in RCS chat sometimes that doesn't happen. It's like it gets stuck on that RCS thing and it doesn't fall back. So I don't know.
Because there's been 10 plus years of development behind iMessage, and RCS is still in its infancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it wasn't clear to me why they didn't open source, or why they didn't make RCS an open standard. That was confusing, and that maybe could have helped, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's a really good example, and I actually very much applaud Jeff for kind of putting a very sharp nail on the point. Sorry, a very sharp point to it. That I think we often talk about Google putting its money where its mouth is, and this is probably a very clear example of they want to do RCS, but that if they're not leading by example, if they're not actually using it, the message gets very mixed. And I think that's unfortunately something that we've mentioned often and experienced often. And if this is so important, then yes, they need to lead by example first. And things like this just eat at the good points and the merit of everyone adopting RCS. So that's just unfortunate, but yeah.
There was even, I wish I could find it, but I can't. So I'm not going to continue looking, but there was an email, sorry, emailer, I don't have your name here, where they pointed out very succinctly, how does Google expect others to support RCS when it can't do it with Google Voice? Google Voice doesn't have RCS functionality.
Right, but Google Voice is in the most, I feel like Google Voice is on the list of forgotten applications at Google, where someone's like, who's the project manager on Voice, right? When was the last time Voice has had anything that was innovative? Yeah, well, that's true. Is Voice kind of on the way, on that kind of back tier of importance? Yep, I think it is. But the point being, if Google really wants to say, hey, this is important all across the board, that is another one of their things, it's just another one of those things where Google kind of decides it's done with this. And what is the example? What is communicated in that action? Right. And how many times have we seen Google, the right hand taking action and the left hand having no idea what it's doing? Yeah. Right. So I don't feel like pointing to the lack of RCS in Voice is an indicator of Google's lack of commitment to RCS. I think the probably very expensive campaign they launched last week shows their commitment to RCS, right? So, it's very easy to point out every single app that could have. We all know Google's spotty messaging history, and I don't mean to be defending Google here, but I just don't think that is a bellwether to their belief in it. Sure. Yeah. Fair. Well, I'm sure this is not the last that we will talk about RCS on this show, but those were some solid emails, if not a little wordy, but I think important nonetheless. So thank you all for writing. Thank you all for watching and listening. And thank you, Andrew Watson, for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for hopping on with us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This has been awesome.
Absolutely. We should definitely get you back sometime in the near future. Tell people this is kind of the opportunity that you have at the end of the show to kind of plug anything that you have going on specifically. It's really up to you. What do you want people to know? Where can they find you? That sort of stuff.
Yeah. I like talking about this stuff. I like ideating. Whatever. So follow me on Twitter. It's Creative Drewy. I don't know if can go in the show notes. It's at Creative Drewy.
At Creative Drewy. Okay.
Yeah, at Creative Drewy. Yeah. But if you want to learn more about Solana Mobile, go to solanamobile.com, check out the GitHub, and would love to help people learn more there too. So yeah, just would love to chat with the audience in whatever way they want to talk.
Right on. Cool. Well, everybody find Andrew at Creative Drewy on Twitter. And yeah, thank you, Andrew. We'll have you back sometime soon. Appreciate your time. And Wynn, it's good to have you back. What do you want to leave people with today?
Well, first I want to thank Andrew for stopping by. I got the pleasure of meeting Andrew at Google I/O many years ago, and we have a lot of mutual friends. Yes. So it's really awesome to have you on the show, Andrew. Really
great to be
really
here.
Fun. Great to have you. And I will be doing stuff at some point. I got some content I'm working on for Android, but until then, listen to my ramblings and meanderings about Android and other things at Code Monkey on Twitter and the other one, Instagram. And also you can find my previous talks, code, and video at randomlytyping.com.
Right on. Thank you, Wynn. It's good to see you.
Good to be back.
And Ron, what about you?
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram at RonXO, and go check out Scorbit in the Google Play Store if you're into pinball. Just check it out and tell me what you think of it. Just leave it at that. Let's say that. So, okay.
All right.
Have a good night.
Everybody check it out. Thank you, Ron. Big thanks to Burke here in the studio for pushing buttons, occasionally jumping in, chiming in, that sort of stuff. And thank you to Victor behind the scenes for making this show hit your podcast feeds so you actually have something to watch or listen to probably tomorrow morning. You can find me at Jason Howell on Twitter. Don't forget twit.tv/ClubTwit for Club Twit, our ad-free subscription tier. That's no ads in our shows, exclusive Twit Plus podcast feed content, and a members-only Discord, $7 a month. So go check it out. I'm wrapping this up super fast tonight because we've been going a little bit long. But there it is, Club Twit. We don't need to play the whole thing. You know about Club Twit. Do it. You'll love it. As for this show, you can find it at twit.tv/AAA. All the information you need about this show can be found there, how to subscribe, everything listed in a very easy format to follow, as well as a nice hero image up at the top of us smiling and laughing. So go there and subscribe. We appreciate it. We appreciate you for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time on All About Android. Bye, everybody.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, and I am the host of Hands on Photography here on Twit TV. I know you got yourself a fancy smartphone, you got yourself a fancy camera, but your pictures are still lacking. Can't quite figure out what the heck shutter speed means? Watch my show. I got you covered. Want to know more about just the ISO and exposure triangle in general? Yeah, I got you covered. Or if you got all of that down, you want to get into lighting, making things look better by changing the lights around you. I got you covered on that too. So check us out each and every Thursday here on the network. Go to twit.tv/hop and subscribe today.